Most change doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with discomfort, that quiet, persistent feeling that something isn't quite right, even when everything on the surface looks like it is. I'm Saskia Falcon. Welcome to the Odds in Our Favor, a News 24 Good News podcast, brought to you by Old Mutual Wealth, helping you grow, protect, and preserve what matters. This is a podcast about South Africans who are not just responding to broken systems, but redesigning them entirely. There's a hidden cost in South Africa that most people don't think about, but we feel it every time that we shop. It's the price of having less. When you can't buy in bulk, you pay more per unit. Because when you can't afford larger sizes, you pay for more packaging. And when every rand is stretched to its limit, the system quietly charges more for being poor. But what if the problem isn't only income? What if it's the structure of consumption? And what if that structure could be removed? That is Skubu, a fully automated refill store that strips costs out of everyday essentials by removing packaging and allowing the most vulnerable South Africans to buy exactly what they need. And today I'm joined by its founder, Eben de Jong. Eben, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
I'd like to start before there was Skubu, before the idea, before the innovation. If you can take us back just a little bit, what was growing up like? And I'm specifically interested in what shaped the way that you see money and access and everyday essentials.
Yeah, so look, I had a privileged upbringing. I'm very, very blessed. But I also knew that my parents didn't grow up the way that I grew up. So both of them grew up in poverty. And I knew that. So I knew that what I had was like super special, and very appreciative for the life that my parents built for me. And I think that's really the cornerstone is that I know that the playing field isn't fair in South Africa. And I often think, what would South Africa look like if the playing field was fair? And that's something that's always kind of in the back of my mind.
When did this idea first come to you, and what problem exactly were you trying to solve that you could see traditional retail was not addressing?
So I used to work for a big multinational fast-moving consumer goods company, and we did a project to get our basket of goods with another companies directly into spaza shops. So instead of spaza shops buying from wholesalers, we launched this project where we would service them directly. The idea was to get better pricing to the shopper and also get closer to your consumer, so you can get better market insights and hopefully win on that front. And the project was super successful. But when I looked at the products that we sold into this channel, I saw that it was predominantly the smaller pack sizes that we sold at a premium. So not only is it more expensive, but often you also make higher margins on the smaller pack sizes. And I just thought that was wrong. And I fell in love with solving that problem. So the poverty tax problem, where it's expensive to be poor.
The poverty premium problem.
Yeah. So look, you see it across industry. So basically, if you have a lot of disposable income, you can buy really nice shoes. So if I look at my shoes, I've had them for 7 years. Real leather, they still look great. They still work. But if you don't have the disposable income to buy proper leather shoes, you end up buying a cheaper alternative. And those only last, 6 months or a year, and then you have to buy new ones, and it ends up being much more expensive in the long run. So you see that across industry. So if you don't have money to buy a 2-liter cold drink, but you have enough for a 300 ml can, you're going to pay a massive premium for the convenience of having the smaller pack size, or just not having the ability to buy the bigger pack size. And often people that would most desperately want to buy at the better price point just don't have the funds to do that. And I don't think those people should be forced into buying at a premium.
You're touching on something that is at the heart of what you're doing. One of the most striking ideas is that poor consumers or low income consumers are effectively penalized for buying small quantities. Why does that happen in traditional retail systems?
So look, it's genuinely more expensive to have a smaller pack size, right? So there's more packaging, significantly more packaging, which incidentally also the smaller pack size packaging often isn't recyclable either. So I have the worst of the worst where it's more expensive and it's also not recyclable. So these layered plastic pouches, as an example, you can't recycle that. So there's more packaging. You've got more hands that have to move that product. So if you have to restack a shelf, as an example, if you have to restack that with little 100 ml bottles, compare that to like a 10-liter bottle, it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer to restack the shelf with a smaller pack sizing. Moving stock through the supply chain, much more efficient, moving the bulk. So those are some of the levers that make it a lot more expensive.
So when we talk about these levers, because most people think about cheap groceries and they think about discounting, but what the idea you're bringing to market isn't really about discounting. It's actually about restructuring costs.
Yes.
So just talk us through that distinction a little bit about how that price is then removed from the system, or the cost is removed from the system.
Yeah. So I don't like discounts. I think discounts is another thing that introduces inefficiencies in the system. So when I was logistics manager for the big corporate, used to be like the bane of my life, waiting for a special, and you just knew on a Friday afternoon some store was going to stock out, and you have to get a special delivery to restock that, which was driven by your discounting. So you get these massive peaks and valleys in demand. And that cost is also factored in. It's not free. There's no free lunch. So if you might buy the discounted product, but going forward it's going to be more expensive. So we don't like doing discounts. Actually never done a discount, and hopefully we never have to. We've got an everyday low price where our shoppers, we want our shoppers to trust that our price is our price, and we fight incredibly hard for every cent on behalf of the shopper. And we feel that our shoppers are special every day. So we don't think that you should run a special for month end, because what happens if you had money the week before month end or after, now you can't buy? Are you not special? So we drive that price every single day. And the levers that you are asking about, it's removing the packaging, and buying really well. Those are the two that you have to get right.
So now you are in the FMCG space, you're noticing things, you're thinking this is not right and it actually can be done better. What prompted you then to go and create a startup? Just take us a little bit through that journey.
Look, I don't think I was ever a really good corporate employee. I got reprimanded for stepping out of my lane. Yeah, so I think they might have been relieved to see the back of me. So I think that was always it. I never wanted to only run a small piece of a big machine. I wanted to run an end-to-end system, and that's basically it.
Talk to us just a little bit about the startup.
Sonke, I started during COVID, so it was October 2020. Started it. Yeah, so what's almost 6 years ago now. And I think a lot of people see Skubu and they think that it's like this overnight thing that happened, but there was 5 years for us to get to that point. So I started it, and the first machine we actually imported from China, and it was a disaster. Didn't work. We realized very quickly that we had to own that technology, which is now what we do.
How do you go from having this idea and thinking, okay, we're going to create this startup and do something which is quite radically different, to actually then finding the support, the believers, the buy-in, just to get that first machine built?
Yeah, it was very difficult. So to build the first machines, I actually sold my house and my apartment. So I had 2 properties and I had 0. And that was the first step, is actually getting belief from between me and my wife. I've got a very, very supportive wife. I'm very blessed. I think a lot of people thought that I was crazy, and I think some people still think so. So yeah, that was the first step, is you have to believe in yourself before other people would believe in you. And on the journey, I think we've been super, super blessed with the support that we have gotten. So I think it's only right to name some of them. So 91, the asset manager, unbelievable support from the 91 team, top down throughout. Super, super appreciative for the support from them. SAB Foundation, also super supportive, along with their implementation partners, which is Further and Impact Amplifier. Then also the CSIR helped on a project. And, it's people that are on the same mission as us. And we really, really appreciate the help that we've received from them, and also corporates, like as time went on, we now have a partnership with Unilever. Really appreciate the support from them and the backing from them as well. So, yeah, but the first step is you have to kind of believe in yourself and take that first step, even if you don't know what comes next.
I want to touch on supply chain a little bit, because you mentioned Unilever now. For a startup at the very beginning, how do you get manufacturers and people in that supply chain to actually participate in a system where it's unbranded, unpackaged, sold in bulk? I can imagine that this must have been one of the hardest things to negotiate in the system, is that supply chain, because it didn't really exist.
Yeah. So you spot on. So it's much easier now that we have something to show people. But before that, you have to influence people and I think figuring out who the right person is that actually can make the decision is something that's really important. And then just, it takes time. People think that it's one meeting and you just need to get lucky. It's unfortunately not the way. For us to get to this point, it's years of work to get like the Unilever guys on board. Is literally as a 3-year process. And I think that's where a lot of startups either run out of runway. You just don't have the funds to keep going, and you need some level of buy-in to make a success of it. And I think the other thing is you are always in a better spot when people come to you versus you going to them. It shifts the dynamic a little bit.
Is that what happened for you guys? Talk to me. First win.
In that case, no. In that case, no. There was to keep knocking on the door. But as an example, to get the first Scoobu shop launched, a barrier that we had is we had to get into mall stores, into malls, and I could not convince a mall to give us space. Landlords just didn't want to. They, the first quick question they would ask is, okay, how many stores have you got? And you'd say 0. They'd say, well, then go launch your first store and then come back. How do you launch a store when you need a store to launch a store? Chicken and egg thing. So that was incredibly hard. I had to knock on like 40 different doors to get access into the first mall. And again, there, if you talk about partnerships, and Eris Properties took the first shot on us. So I'm super grateful there, like someone along that road said, we back this guy, he's going to do it. And yeah, so super grateful for that support as well.
Wealth is about more than just numbers. It's about what you're shaping, your ambitions, your priorities, your legacy. That's why Old Mutual Wealth partners with skilled financial planners to bring the expertise of a leading wealth manager to your strategy. They help you make sense of both local and global opportunities, offering clear strategic insight so you can make confident decisions, whether you're building your wealth, protecting it, or shaping your financial future. Take your wealth further.
Okay, so let's get to Scoobu. It's quite a radical idea for someone who doesn't know what this is, what would you describe that customer experience like?
So it's an automated refill store where you can bring your own packaging. You then go to a machine and you say, I want 1 kg, and you press a button, 1 kg, you tap the card and then press start, and your bottle or your packaging will then fill up. You get flexibility on your purchase size, and you should be buying at the best price. So in most cases, you'll be buying at the best price in South Africa.
And 2025, the store in Diepsloot, Johannesburg, I think that was the first one, correct?
Was it good? Yeah.
How did you guys decide which items to stock? Why did you decide to go to the low-income consumer? Because the concept itself could work anywhere.
Yeah. So the products, I mean, your staple goods are, I think that's the first one that you look at. So maize meal, rice, sugar, oil, flour, mabele, those are the big ones. And then, you also want to have the big brands in where they are dominant and where they have a differentiating technology. So Unilever has some amazing products. They'd be really happy to have them in our store. So that's basically what we look at. Also based on my background, you kind of intuitively know which ones would work. And then the second part of your quick question is why Diepsloot? So why that area?
Well, why low income consumer?
Why low income?
Because it can work with any sort of segment of the market, if I can put it that way. Yeah.
So I think first off, there are 34 million South Africans that live below the poverty line of $2.50 a day. That's like half of our country. So in terms of market size, that's the one guiding factor. The other one is, how often do you forget to bring your bag when you go shopping at your retailer? Is it a weekly thing? Or is it like how many times? And then you end up just paying the extra 10 Rand. There's some people that don't have that extra 10 Rand, and those are our shoppers. Those are the people that we're fighting for. And that's why I started the business. So, if you think about our why is we help impoverished people save money. That's what we do. Before there was Scooby, that's also what we were trying to solve. So that's the problem, and we're super passionate about solving this problem, and that's our focus. Yeah.
So Eben, it's a liter of cooking oil, a kilogram of maize meal, exactly the amount that your household can afford in that moment. No packaging, no fixed retail sizes, no paying for excess. And people are saying in some cases up to 60% lower than traditional markets. In fact, I saw a Business Insider article recently, I think, where some of the traditional retailers are getting a little bit scared. Is this really what it's like? Is this really how customers are saving? I mean, just give us a little bit of the feedback from consumers, from your customer base since you've opened.
Yeah. So look, it depends on the pack size that you buy. So obviously bigger savings on the smaller quantities. Yeah. And look, I think people are super grateful for the service that we provide. We hope we can continue, serving the communities where we operate.
People bring their own containers. They buy the exact quantities. Earlier on, you mentioned, that does have an impact on the sustainability factor. Was that originally part of the decision, or just a cost architecture decision that became an environmental one by design?
So look, it's a bit of both. We're super proud about the packaging saving that we have through our technology, but our focus really is the social impact on reducing costs. And packaging is just, part of that saving that we go after. So we're very proud about that impact. It's not our focus. But it's a very happy byproduct of saving money.
Now, since you launched in 2025 in Diepsloot, it's practically gone viral from what we can see on the socials, in terms of media coverage. It looks like consumer demand has been incredible. I want to first ask you if you imagined that that was the way that it would be embraced by the community and by this segment of the market. And then why do you think that Skubu is possible today and like not 10 years ago?
So yeah, I never thought that we would get the media attention that we have. I thought this was going to be a hyper-localized thing and people in the communities where we operate would talk about it and know about us, but I never thought there would be interest from wider South Africa where we don't currently have a, physical presence. Yeah, so it's been surprising.
Why now and not 10 years ago? Because it seems like such a simple idea.
Okay. Yeah. It's incredibly difficult. So there's been lots of people who've tried similar things, not quite the full store concept, but there've been lots of people who've tried to do this in isolation. I know of companies that have raised over $15 million. So that's, approaching like 200 million rand. And the business has failed. So, there's lots of things that can go wrong, on the technical side and also on the marketing side. So you have to get a lot of pieces of the puzzle 100% right, even for you to have a chance. And the reason why is that, we are selling maize meal at a discount to anybody else on the market, right? So margins are not, margins are super, super tight and it's very easy to not make money. And if you don't make money, you don't have a business. So, while we are a social impact company, we are a company, and for us to scale and grow, we have to be sustainable. And there has to be a business case behind this that makes sense. And that is incredibly difficult to get right. Yeah. So I know of 5 companies that have tried similar things, very well funded and haven't managed to make it. Yeah. So the graveyard is full of corpses of people who've tried something similar with the same mission as me, and it's very sad and it's also very scary. So, you have to recognize that what you're trying to do is a lot of hard work for not massive financial upside, but massive social upside. And that's worth, it's worth taking a swing at this, even if we might fail, we're still happy to take a swing.
I mean, what do you guys think you're doing differently?
Look, I think,
without giving away company secrets now, even.
Yeah, I think it's the holistic approach. I think there are a lot of people that are smarter than me that have made mistakes because they're only looking at one part of the business. So you have to look at the whole thing and understand exactly how to unlock those savings.
Okay, let's talk now about scaling. So I saw the first store launch 2025. How many stores do you guys have at the moment?
We have 3. So we launched May 2025. Then we launched November. We launched another one in May of this year. And we've got some plans to scale up.
And where are all of those? In the Gauteng province, all of them?
All in Gauteng, yeah.
And what's the ambition? I mean, how many stores, where, and how quickly?
Look, so we would just want to scale the impact in whichever form that takes, right? So if there are some big partners that want to work with us, we are very keen to scale the impact.
So from a Sonke startup perspective, you guys are actively looking for partners to scale then? I mean, if I wanted to open up a Skubu store in my neighborhood, for instance, and bring it to the Western Cape, would I have a franchise option? I mean, what different models are you guys looking at?
So we don't currently have a franchise option. We also have a responsibility to prospective franchisees that we, look after their investment. And we're not quite ready for that commitment yet. But from an institutional point of view, we are open to working with partners that can help us scale.
And how would people be able to partner with you then if someone is interested and wanting to kind of get in on supporting this mission?
Yeah, so I think the big corporates know where to find us. Our details are on the internet. We'd love to chat to any of the big corporates who see value in what we do. Yeah, but the timing has to be right. And at the moment we are still, we're very small. We're very, very small. So social media and the media in general might make you think that we're this big company. We are a startup small team, very passionate about solving this problem. But yeah, we're not, this massive corporate engine.
Come back to a little bit of your vision, because beyond price, from your guys' perspective, what changes when essential goods become this accessible? I mean, it is about dignity and choice and household stability, really.
Yeah, so we would love to see money being spent in other important areas, right? So I would love for the money that we save the community to go into education, or to go into maybe eating better. So if you don't have to spend as much eating a staple good, maybe it gives you access to more protein, which is something we don't even sell, right? I don't sell meat. There's no way for us to, handle that. So we hope to have some knock-on social impact, just by virtue of unlocking funds into other categories.
And when you talk about scaling impact, because I love that, so it's not actually about scaling the product, and you don't hear a lot of startups talking about that. And you really have a real test case for that. What does impact look like? Is it fighting the hunger crisis that we're having? Is it about creating jobs? What does that impact look like for Skubu?
Yeah, yes. The first thing is we measure how much money we save people. That's the most important thing. So per 100 Rand, how much are you going to save? That's number one. Number two is the plastic saving. So how much plastics can we divert from landfill? And then the third one that I'm really passionate about, as well, is actually economic inclusion. Right? So at the moment, all of these stores are corporate owned stores. We have to prove the test case, but ultimately we'd love to have a future where South Africans are economically empowered, right? So I don't want to become a retailer. No, I'm a technology supplier that has been forced into retail. And I would love to, move back into our core, which is technology, and not running a retail entity.
Ewan, thank you so much for chatting to us today on the odds in our favor. I think what Skubu challenges is not just the price of food, but how access to food is structured in the first place. And it really suggests that affordability is not necessarily about income, but it's actually about design and intention. And when you remove some of those structural costs like packaging, minimum quantities, inefficiencies, you don't just lower prices, but you also make it easier for families to eat, for households to stabilize, and to not only function with dignity, but also then build a better future for South Africa's children. Like you said, what they save there, they can divert into other essential parts for building a better future. To learn more, and of course to follow the journey of Skubu, you can visit sonke.org.